Hey, welcome back, everybody. I was getting ready to work on a texturing video for that hanger that we stopped working on, but I came across some things and I want to get that news out to you. Past couple days, I've been doing some videos on the new Asobo Exporter. And every time I discover something, I'm going to get that news out to you. So that's basically what I'm doing today. So let me set this up real quick. Obviously, this is not my hanger. This is a project that I'm using to make a video coming up on glass in the new MSFS parameters. But it's going to suffice for this video today. The video today talks about it's a continuation of yesterday when we exported our model. When we export a model, we have our model in a collection, and obviously this is not the same project that I had open in the video yesterday, but it's still a real project, okay? So I have a collection called Test Block, and I have some blocks in there. I have two blocks and an icosphere that I'm emitting light from. And I'm exporting this out to my sim so I can test the different settings of the glass. Okay, so that's just setting up what you see. But here is the important part for this video. Yesterday, if you probably have noticed, most of you right now are probably cursing my name because I didn't bring this up yesterday. Okay, but yesterday, after you exported your model and you built your project and then you went into your project, you might have noticed that your building is gone. And in the scenery list of all the objects in your scenery, it probably had your building as an unknown. Okay. A lot of people on the forums and stuff, anytime that you have an unknown in your list, they're telling you that your path names to your models is incorrect. That is not always the case. The reason I know that is because the project that I exported yesterday using the new exporter is a well-established project. I've had it for over a year. Okay? I've never changed the paths. I've never moved the location of my models. Everything is pristine. Okay? So I know it wasn't the path. There was something else going on. I checked it with the old exporter, did it with the old exporter, went in, everything was fine. Okay? It was only when I was using the new exporter. All right? Here is what happens. Okay? So when you first export a model, you click on Generate XML and you click on the name of the object that you're going to export. So in this case, if I hit export right now, it will generate a new XML and a new GLTF and a new bin. If I come into my model, make a change to it, and then export it again, I get a brand new XML and a brand new GLTF and bin. Every time I click export with these settings, okay? Problem is, every time it generates an XML, it generates a new GUID, which is the unique identifying name for an object. So let's go into the file folder. All right, here's my airport that I'm using as my test bed for everything that I do, really. Okay, 5 Alpha 1, Norwalk, Ohio. I have a package sources, I have a model lib, and I have a scene folder. Model lib is where my models are. There's test block. So if I go into test block, I got my bin, my GLTF, and my XML. If I go into my XML, which I don't actually need to open because I think I already have it open. If I go into my XML for test block, you see this number right here. That is the GUID. Okay, it says right there, GUID equal this big long number alphanumeric character string, whatever you want to call it. Let's call it a GUID. That's what it is. All right, so every time you generate an XML, it generates the XML itself plus the GUID. Okay, you with me so far? We'll come back to this. So, in this particular setup, I have generate XML checked and I have test block checked. If I have test block checked, it's going to generate the GLTF and the bin. If I have the generate XML, it will generate the XML file plus a new GUID every single time that I push export. Okay. People, you only need to check mark generate XML once. And that's the first time you create an object. So let's pretend I'm not going to push export because I got it set up to work correctly so I can show you. Okay. So let's pretend we created this for the first time. So I create my object, hit my generate XML, test block, hit export, I get an XML. Okay? Then I go out and I build my project. Then I go into the sim, go to the airport. You guys know that. You guys all know this part. Then I go and add my new object to my airport. And I save my export and then I rebuild it. Okay? When you do that, after you do all that, in your model, in your project, in your scene folder, you would have had to create a scene file. Remember how you do that? Okay. Now, the scene file is just an XML. So we're going to open that up. And I already have it open. And if you notice that it's a list of all the objects you have in your project, you'll notice library object for each individual object that you have. And you'll see it says name equal and then a big long string of alphanumeric characters. That's the GUID. I don't know why they wanted to change the name. But anyway, they changed the name, which is no big deal. But if you have unknowns in your project, check your object for its GUID. Then go over to the scene XML for that object. Find that object in the list and check to see if the GUIDs match. If they do not match, simply go into your object, select your GUID without the brackets, okay? Control C, copy that, go into your scene, hover over and select the GUID in your scenery XML and paste it. Replace the number, okay? Then save your XML and go out and rebuild your project. Then when you go back into the simulator, everything will be just fine. You get that? I'm going to take a break for a second. So, my theory, and we can test that theory, is that the majority of the time that you have unknown objects in your scenery is because the GUIDs don't match. All right. Now, with the new exporter, And I've tested this probably a dozen times to make sure that I was correct. All right. So we come into our object and we got it in our scenery. We don't have that unknown problem anymore. I come into my object into Blender and I'm doing some edits on my object and I'm getting ready to re-export it. Just turn off Generate XML and hit export, and it will only export a new bin and a new GLTF, and it won't mess with creating a new GUID, and you don't have to do that copy and paste thing again. Okay? It does work, guys. It does work. I've done it a dozen times already just to make sure that this is correct. In the old Blender to MSFS export, it never did that. I never had to uncheck generate a new GUID. I never had to do that. And I think most of us never did. All right. So just so you know, from now on, the only time that you need to generate an XML is the very first time that you create that object and export it for the first time. After that, come back into the exporter for that project and uncheck Generate XML. And you should not have that unknown issue again for this error. Okay? So I hope that this helps and your frustrations, and you forgive me for not mentioning it yesterday because, to be honest with you, I didn't know it. Okay, so I'm going to be coming back to texturing soon. We're going to be talking about the new MSFS parameters because they are pretty cool. So I hope this video helped and cleared some things out. And again, here's the commercial. Please subscribe, hit the notification bell, share with your friends. If you're inclined, please support me by buymeacoffee.com, my physical world. You guys have a great day, and we'll see you in the next video. See you later.